Hogstyle.
Hello, everybody. We are getting closer and closer to my favorite holiday at the Hogside, which is Thanksgiving season. And we have one more game to go before that comes up, as Washington gets ready to play Dallas before Thanksgiving and not on Thanksgiving. And Steve, that's the greatest gift of all.
You and I especially have done so many
Yep.
Thanksgiving shows. I am so sick of it. Yes. Thank God there's no
Right,
Thanksgiving Washington football this
right,
year.
right. And it also the Dallas game is the worst time because I want to eat dinner. I don't want to have to be forced to like
Yeah,
miss dinner to
man. I
watch
mean,
football.
we have you guys just don't know how many years we've
Yep.
gone. What do we do about it? Especially when we were doing 2 shows a week. It was just
It
a
was such a
never-ending
nightmare.
slog. Oh,
Yep.
it was terrible.
Yep. But we don't have it this year. That we get Dallas a week early, and that's a gift.
All I
And
know that my favorite Thanksgiving Day game was RG3's rookie year. I was up at the Poconos,
yep,
and that game was just absolutely. I think it was like total like 4 touchdown passes he had that game. We scored a
perfect
total of
QB rating.
5.
Yep.
Perfect QB rating. It was a great game.
I was
I
there
just
live.
were you really?
Oh yeah, my dad and I drove up to Dallas to see that. Yeah,
That's
That was
awesome.
that was a great game, man.
it was a
Yeah.
great game. It really was.
Yeah.
I almost
Well,
got in a fight with the guy in front of me.
almost.
Almost. Yeah, he backed down, thankfully.
That's good news. Well, let's talk about some other stuff that's going on because really Thanksgiving's next week. Although I'm celebrating it this weekend. Long story, won't get into here.
Did anybody really think that your favorite holiday'd be anything but Thanksgiving? It wasn't much of a mystery.
No, I've said it for years on the
Well,
show
that
that's
and
my
you're Jewish, so it
well,
can't be Christmas.
no. I mean, Halloween was up there when I was a kid. And I don't dislike Christmas. I have
Oh,
half my
I get
family's
it.
Christian.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand, but it's not going to be your favorite holiday. It's,
No, no. I don't like getting gifts or giving gifts. That's
well, that's
not
a
my
real
thing.
Scrooge McDuck kind of thing to
Oh
do.
no, no. I just hate materialism like that.
I don't like gifts.
Yeah.
Stop showing me affection. Nah.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
that's more of
oh,
you
for me,
than
thank you. I hate gifts.
yeah. Speaking of gifts, let's talk about a little gift that Dave got on Twitter when he got blocked by Tom Lavero. Dave, how did that go for you this week?
Oh, let's see. He posted an article that talks about that. Just to paraphrase on the headline. Now, I didn't read the article because I don't give him that click. I don't give him
Right.
that. I don't even give him that time of day for that because he's kind of pointless for me, in my opinion. But he had an article headline where he came out and says, basically, Washington fans are hoping that Jaden Daniels is hurt because the alternative would be disappointing, meaning as in his slump, if it's not because he's hurt, is because he must not be a very good quarterback. So, and of course, I jumped in and I shared the article. I shared his post and I said, this is a cowardly thing to do because he disabled the likes, the replies, where you can put a comment on, the share quote, everything. So basically, he knew he was throwing something out there that was going to get a rise out of the fan base because he's any more of a shock jock now today. I mean, years ago, he was Kevin Sheehan. They say he was a great journalist, and that's fine. I didn't read him then, but what I see from him today, I really couldn't care less how he was then, because he's nothing but a shock jock now today in journalism, and I kind of treat him as such when I made the comment, and well, I got a lot of big comments and likes, reposts about it. Some people said I may have been overreacting, and you know what, I might have.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Lavaro, first of all, or Thom, whatever, he is a jerk, right? I mean, we all know that. I think I want to say when I was doing the Hogside Twitter years ago, I think I argued with him over some dumb thing too.
Yeah,
So I'm not above
us at that
yeah,
point.
I'm not above it either, and nor do I care. But in this case, I think that you may have assumed the worst on the content of the column based on the tweet, because when he was saying, fans wish he was hurt, I think what they're really saying is that, well, I think what he's really saying is, the fans probably hope that his existing rib injury still exists, because the alternative to the injury still existing would be that the guy has just gone downhill, which is different than
Right.
saying we hope he's hurt, which is
Yes.
kind of the way you took it, which is probably the way, not the way he meant it, but he phrased it in such a way that he would get a rise out of people. I mean, intentionally,
And
but he's not really saying that.
and that's what he's been doing for years, and he knows what he's doing. I mean, he clearly goes out there. I mean, even Kevin Sheehan has gotten on him in the past when I used to listen to the segments with him on his podcast. I mean, he would make the comment at the time, was like, you the way you put that out there, what you're doing, you're getting around. And Tom Lovato would literally just laugh because, yes, you're right, I know what I'm doing. Well, you know what? We're past the Dan Snyder. We're past all that time. We're trying to move forward, and here you are still doing the exact same thing. And you know what? God bless him. It works for him, and that's great. He's retired. He's enjoying what he's doing. Me, I just don't care for it anymore.
I mean, I don't respect a lot of reporters anyway, because I think a lot of them are self-aggrandizing jerks who aren't as intelligent as they think they are. And certainly he would fall into that category. And there's many, many others. Florio is another one.
Sure.
And so he probably got the reaction he wanted out of you, I
Yep.
would say.
Yes. Yeah, he definitely got the reaction he wanted without me actually giving clicks to his article. So yes, you're right about that.
I mean, the fundamental point of, would it be better if Daniels is still suffering a little bit from an injury which affected his performance rather than he just played bad, is a good question to talk about.
Sure.
Or his new thing that he said today in his press conference. Oh no, that wrap on his ribs is because he's cold, which
no, it isn't.
No,
Right.
That is not how you warm up.
See, that sound makes him sound whiny. Just
right.
Yeah, right. It still hurts to say that.
I think, but look, he's a Southern boy. He's a California boy. He does need to get some Northeastern, body fat on him to, get used to playing up here a little bit.
Well, you don't want him to get fat and lose speed, no. But he doesn't need to say that. That means sounds ridiculous.
No. It is
ribs where he was hurt. That's cold. I mean, that's
right. That one spot is where he needs to be warm at all times.
I'll put it this way: even when Randall Cunningham was in Philadelphia, same size, stature, everything. Yeah. He even said it took him some time to get used to the weather that was up here, and once he did, he was fine going forward. I mean, it's when you're born and raised in California and you play for LSU and play for Arizona, and you're used to that. You still have to get acclimated to up here. And sure, he needs that time probably. I don't blame him for that. I mean,
listen, I don't own a winter coat, okay? I don't own a winter jacket. I mean, I get it. But all the same, if he was cold, he would be wearing a jacket on the sidelines, not wrapping his ribs in something that just so happens to be intended to have a therapeutic,
And the thing is, if you're watching, he is wearing like 3 jackets at times on the side.
Well, that's fine. I get it. Again, I live in South Texas. I've lived in many different climates, but not in a cold weather one in a long time. I'd probably be cold too. I get it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think from the ones you've told me. It's been many, many years since you've lived in a cold climate.
Well, I've lived in South Texas for a long time.
Right.
I bet. Yeah, the last time I lived in the District of Columbia into the DC area was in the mid '90s.
Right, which is probably the last time you were in a cold area for.
Well, no, that's not true. But
no?
There was one other place too. But regardless, point is that the rib wrap thing is not what's keeping him warm. That's the point.
No. It's just a very funny excuse to.
Yeah, it sounds ridiculous to be honest.
It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, by the way, I checked. The Hog site not blocked by Tom Lovato.
Oh, okay. Well, good.
My personal account also blocked by Tom Lovato.
We are. Well, we're not blocked on the Hog site.
No, the Hog site isn't.
Oh,
I somehow am, and Dave is.
Maybe maybe we need to mouth off to him from the Hog site just to get that.
We don't even follow him. That's the funny part.
Oh, we don't? Okay.
10 years on Twitter, we've never followed.
Well, we might have dumped him. Who knows? I don't know.
We might have dropped him. That's probably more likely.
Hey, trust me. If you want him to block the Hog site, I'll take care of that in about 5 minutes tomorrow.
Have at it, man. That's okay. I don't care.
Tommy the Troll. Speaking of, the old-fashioned, like, this team can be a little screwed up still. We did get a funny story. It actually came out last week. We didn't get to it. And I wanted to just because I think it's hilarious. Apparently, when the Steelers were in town playing Washington, at the end of the game, the Steelers went into the guest locker room, and there was a snake, a real live snake, in the locker room, slithering around by Russell Wilson's locker, and uh, all the players freaked out, as one would imagine when you see a snake in a place where you're not ready to see a snake. In indoors, that is always the case.
I thought when you were talking about Snake before the show, I thought you were talking that Dan Snyder came back for a visit or something. My bad.
I was waiting for somebody to make that joke.
Yes, I think we should name the snake Daniel. You know,
There you go.
we really need. I need to DM Rick Snyder or somebody. Can we find out? Did they catch the snake yet? Like, is the snake still there? Because
What kind of absurdity is this? I mean, how many problems can there be in one stadium? This is courtesy of the same stadium that dumped raw sewage on people, that the fence broke and almost dumped people off of a ledge.
it did dump one or two people.
Yeah, it did. And now there's snakes, and
Right.
it's just like it's never ending with this dump.
Well, like, look, when stadiums get old,
It's
weird
not
stuff-
that old though.
I mean,
it's
in stadium years, it's up there, right?
yeah,
Like,
but it's not. Like Wrigley Field has been
No, no,
around
no.
forever.
Right.
The Soldier Field.
Yeah, but you're
Yes.
talking about fields where I mean, when they were built solid, not the fields you see like FedEx and
Yeah,
even I mean
That's part
even
of
yeah, because I mean even the Link was built around the same time, and they have their fair share of issues with they were structural wise stuff like that. But I mean nothing like what
This
RFK
is like built
slash
by
Northwest Stadium, but
built by Walmart.
Well,
Something,
that too.
you know.
But like, you
Mm.
mentioned the Link. I remember when I was living in Philly, Dave, at the vet, and this was like the tail end of the vet years, early 2000s. There were cats, like armies of cats living inside the stadium at
Armies
that
of
point.
cats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like they had to stop multiple Eagles games because cats were just wandering onto the field, and they had to like go chase the cats down.
Like a bunch of feral cats living in the
Yes,
tunnels or something.
exactly. They eat the cheesesteaks that drop on the ground, and that's where they live.
well, I
God
mean,
bless the cats.
well you need something to control the rodent population anyway.
Right. Exactly. That too.
But this, like the snake thing, is not construction problems. That's just yet another ridiculous event that
Yeah.
happened in the stadium.
Right. But what Dave just mentioned is part of what happens. Stadiums get dirty because they don't clean them very well after the
Right.
game. A dropped hot dog invites a bunch of rats. A bunch of rats invites a bunch of snakes. Like it's nature. Nature finds a way.
And the whole city's built on a swamp, kind of. So
Well, but this is up in PG County. It's nowhere near the swamp.
is the swamp not in PG County?
No, not that far up. No.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't get the swampy part is really down by where like Andrews is. That was the only swampy part of DC.
Oh, okay. Andrews Air Force Base is what he's talking about.
Yes,
Yeah.
for those who didn't know when I
Yeah.
said Andrews. I
mean,
knew Steve knew, so I didn't.
Yes.
I mean, at least large chunks of sheet metal isn't falling from the roof.
That's true. That's true. Our stadium dumps sewage, like you said. The stadium in Dallas, that fancy, shiny, affront to the football gods. It's dropping its ceiling on people already.
Right.
Almost decapitated some like field crew. Apparently, is what they said.
Well,
But
thank
luckily
goodness
nobody
nobody got
got
injured.
It was. I
luckily
think it was
slash
like an
it's a show.
hour or so before they actually let the fans in. So
Yeah. So it was just grounds crew, camera crew who were out there when it happened.
By the way,
Yep.
Chris and I did a long story on the Tyson Paul fight,
Mhm.
which on the IJB, which was released this week. It's Just Business. That event took place at the stadium, but that
Yeah.
gives me a chance to plug It's Just Business. So
Yes,
there
you
you
go.
that you did talk about that. You also talked a little bit about the Washington naming rights, right?
Yeah, that was kind of off the cuff, but yeah,
Yeah.
we did. I mean, the point that I was making with that, because it actually came up because my co-host Chris mentioned he bought a hat
Mhm.
you know, and he was making the point to say it didn't have a C Words logo on it. It was just a W or something. And so we got into uniforms and stuff. And so the point about branding was,
You didn't call me in the middle of the event or the show just to talk uniforms. I'm insulted.
well, we were gonna call you to talk about Starlink uplink, Starlink download speeds. Actually,
Oh,
but
okay.
that would have been also up your alley, probably.
Yes, a little bit.
I don't. We might have said that off the show. I can't remember, but you definitely
I
came
don't
up.
remember.
But
Yes,
but the
we
point about
talked about that.
the point about the rebrand thing is that I think from a strategic marketing standpoint, the name kind of is what it is, because what companies want to market to are 18 to 34,
Right.
and sometimes up to 18 to 45 even. But if you're anywhere under mid 30s,
Hmm.
you have no love for the Washington Redskins. You didn't
Right.
see, all you
Hmm.
knew was Snyder, all you knew was chaos. It takes people who are 40 and up to have any recollection of the golden years.
Right.
And I think what the marketing people would say therefore is, it's toxic and NFL would never let it because of political correctness and all that. But two, they don't really want to spend the money on it when the theory is going to be, if we win, they will come, and the younger crowd will come along and accept Commanders. And
Right.
the older people like me, who I'm really stubborn and obstinate anyway, I never will, but they don't really care,
Right.
about us.
Yeah.
And so that was the point we were making. It was sort of an off the cuff discussion, but that was the point we were making.
Sure. Well, a thing that did happen related to that somewhat this week that we should touch on, the RFK Stadium
Yeah.
uh legislation has gotten out of the its committee. It was voted 17-2 in favor of advancing the legislation to the full Senate. The lone two dissents in this vote, by the way, interesting combo. Mike Lee of Utah, about as conservative as any senator in the Senate these days, and then Bernie Sanders, the socialist from Vermont.
The commie
Uh,
from Vermont. Yeah.
yep, those are the two people who were against this for very different reasons. Obviously, Sanders is against any kind of stadium funding. That's his big beef. He, you know, government money going to any stadium, not just this one, anyone, anywhere.
Bernie
That's his.
Sanders is a
Right.
moron and always been a moron. The bill had nothing to do with federal funding for stadiums at
No, but
all.
he's doing it on that principle.
But
And
the bill hadn't. So, okay, you
yeah,
want me to summarize real fast what this bill is?
right.
Okay, so the bill basically says, in essence, the entire area, which is 174 acres,
Hmm.
will be ground leased to the District of Columbia for 99 years. The
Right.
bill requires that the area needs to be used for stadium purposes, commercial residential development, facilities, open space, public outdoor opportunities, meaning
Right.
cultural stuff, a theater, open air theater, whatever, other public purposes. And then it also requires 30% of the property, not including the waterways, to be used as parks or open space.
Right.
So 30% of 174 acres is about 51. And so you're really talking 120 something acres of available space. Now, the bill expressly states, unlike what that commie said, that federal money cannot be used in development. So it is entirely on the District of Columbia
Right.
to finance anything. And so that's my point, has been that with this, um, I think it's still unlikely that the District of Columbia will be able to figure out how to finance a $2 billion stadium.
Right.
It is not as easy as people think. Governments don't have all the money in the world. States can do things like bonds and sell bonds, but bonds have to be repaid, okay?
Hmm.
And the district does not have that kind of money. They took out, when they built Nats Park, there was a $350 million construction loan
Right.
which the city took out from a private lender, and that is not normal for these things. So I think, while it may sound good to the old school Washington fans like all of us here, I still think it's far more unlikely than going to Virginia, who can pony up $2 billion in bond funds probably. So that's the
Virginia,
problem.
from what they're saying here locally, is still out at this point. It's
Virginia or
basically Maryland
Maryland.
or DC is
Yeah,
what they're
but
saying. But
either state will have a lot more access to
sure,
capital than will the District of Columbia.
regardless, this bill getting out of the committee is another step
Yes.
of like 40 steps. Now, if it gets voted on by the Senate and the Senate and the House, their various legislations are in sync, then the president can sign it. All that has to happen before the next election.
Well, that was what I was about
Yeah.
to say. It was the term, and this term ends in December sometime.
Right.
And so I think if bills that don't get passed just die and have to be reintroduced in the new
Correct.
Congress.
They
and
have
so
to go all the way through again.
right. And so
And-
that is
yeah.
so that means they've got something along the lines of a month ish.
Right. And in all likelihood, I don't think this is getting through in the next 4 years if it doesn't pass this year. So
Now,
Well, I
now-
don't know. I mean, they had to sit. The federal government does have to do something with the land, and so they will do something. So I disagree with you in that case. They're not just going to let land sit.
Now
Yeah.
you mentioned roughly about 120 acres of land.
Yeah,
that's
basically
just
for the
my
stadium,
yeah.
roughly.
Yeah.
Now, what's the ideal amount of land these days you would want to build a new stadium on? That sounds like a lot, but is that a lot for a stadium to make a stadium state of the art, the kind of stadium that you want to draw in more than just football for the stadium?
Well,
Well,
You
it's
know,
not
other-
just the stadium; it's the parking lots. That's
Right.
what really
Yes.
expands the size and scope. I think you could do a project like that on 120 acres. It may
Right.
not be like SoFi necessarily, but I think you could do a stadium on 120 acres. It just might not be the greatest thing in the world, um, but again, that includes parking. So the district would have to decide, are they going to put a ton of parking there? Are they going to, string the metro, more metro stops out there than just the one that's there already?
Right.
I mean, I think you'd have to decide that because like RFK does have parking, but RFK sits on a much smaller area than any new stadium would sit. And so it's
Right.
not a ton of land, but would be enough, I think.
So,
Okay.
like Dave, just to give you a quick number that will make it make sense to you, the actual field itself in a football stadium is 1.32 acres total. That's
Okay.
the
That's just the
dimensions
grass
of
in
just
the
a
field.
field.
Though. Yeah,
Yes.
that's not
Right.
Yeah.
Then you got to build
Okay.
around that. So
Sure.
but for the stadium itself, the stadium is actually fairly small when you say 100. Like you're probably talking maybe 10 acres for the physical stadium, like an
Yeah,
RFK
it's not a
type
ton.
stadium.
It's the parking and stuff around it.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
And then you get into the geography. This is like a long, narrow strip of land, all that kind of stuff. That matter plays into it too.
Okay, so I'll give you a better perspective. AT&T Stadium,
Yes.
which is large but probably doesn't sit on the space that SoFi does.
Right.
The entire complex is about 100 acres.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's what I was saying. I don't think you could put the world's most enormous stadium on that, but
Right.
you could do an NFL quality stadium.
Right, because
on
what they did
120.
for
Okay.
SoFi and Foxborough too, it's basically like a mini city. That's why
But-
it's
Well, yeah, that's called commercial mixed use development. But you also have to understand that whatever they're going to put in this spot, even if they choose to put a stadium, it's not just going to be a stadium. They'd have to do other stuff with this. And so that's why I'm saying it's not, you couldn't put only a stadium on 120 acres, been happy. It's got to be parks and,
Sure.
other stuff. So,
The-
but the
Right.
point is that's enough to build a reasonable modern NFL stadium.
right. And there's that whole economic model cities want to use where the stadium anchors a commercial district now and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's exactly what
Yeah.
presumably the city would want to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
A nice waterfront, maybe some kayaks that could go around the stadium moat. I don't know.
Yeah.
Stadium
yeah.
moat.
Yeah, I love the mode idea. It's great.
From
See-
speaking as an attorney, I
Right.
think I couldn't think of a worse thing to do from a premises liability standpoint than put a moat around a stadium.
What about having people bungee jump off the stadium? That was also in that picture.
I don't believe that was in that picture.
Was it?
Sorry to say. The moat would be a absolutely terrible idea
Yes. From and just picture
for many,
people getting
many,
drunk
many
and
reasons.
fighting.
Well, many reasons. Also, what happens if you have to get out of there fast?
Right.
Right.
What happens if there's a catastrophic event and then you're stuck
Sure,
on
good
the
point.
bridge? And yes, then you got the drunks fighting and falling in, and then you got a
Right.
premises defect, and yeah, it'd be a nightmare. So there's no moat. Please, no moat. Listen to
Right.
me. Call me, Josh, if you need to, but no
Now,
moat.
where am I gonna dump the bodies, Steve?
Well, in the Anacostia River, nobody
I
with
mean, but
sound
that's
mind.
attached to the moat, like it's moat adjacent.
Moat adjacent, sure. It's already there though. You don't need a
Okay.
moat to dump a body. You can dump it in the river as is.
Speaking of dead bodies, should we talk about the Eagles game?
Oh yes, please.
Oh man, what a disappointment of a game that was. Steve, why don't you give us the ugly numbers so
Yeah,
we
this
can
is my favorite thing to do.
go from there.
Okay, Jane Daniels was 2-2 for 32, 191 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Quarterback rating of 81.6. That is about 68% completion percentage. 171 net yards with the 3 sacks. Brian Robinson was 16 for 63 yards on the ground, 3.9 yards per carry, 1 touchdown, long of 18. Jane Daniels was 7 for 18. 2.6 yards per carry. Austin Eckler 2 for 7. Jeremy Nichols 3 for 5. Leading receiver was Austin Eckler, 8 for 89. Long of 34, Zach Ertz 6 for 47. John Bates 2 for 17. Terry McLaurin 1 for 10. Olamide Zaccheaus 1 for 10. It goes down from there. All of them.
How does it go
something.
down from there? Is the
Well, Luke
cynical
McCaffrey
question.
was 0 for 0 with 1 target, so it went. In
Right.
fact, went down from there. and in yardage, since you questioned me, Terry McLaurin. So okay, McLaurin, Zaccheaus, Robinson, Brown, Noah Brown, Dyami Brown, McNichols all had 1 reception.
Yep.
Right.
But McLaurin and Zaccheaus had 10 yards, Robinson 9 yards, Noah Brown and Dyami Brown 4 yards, and McNichols 1 yard. So that's how it goes down.
Just an ugly day.
Yeah, Jeremy Chin
it was
the leading tackler, 13 tackles, 10 solo. Frankie Louvu, 10 tackles, 6 solo, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Bobby Wagner, 8 for 4. Benjamin Chechu, 7 for 6. Goes down from there. Eagles, Jalen Hurts, 18 for 28, 221 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Quarterback rating of 88.5. Saquon Barkley, 26 for 146 on the ground, 5.6 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns, long of 39. Ken Gainwell, 4 for 43. Jalen Hurts, 10 for 39. A.J. Brown was the leading receiver. They really spread the ball out pretty well. 5 for 65. Dallas Goedert, 5 for 61. Saquon Barkley, 2 for 52. And for those of you, the math efficient, that means he had a total of 28 possessions for 198 yards in that game. Devontae Smith, 4 for 29. Goes down from there. The sacks for Washington, sorry. Frankie Louvu had the 2, and that was it. Oh, and the punting game. Okay, so 93 total rushing yards, 171 net passing yards. So again, for the math deficient, that is 264 total yards. Did, drum roll please, Tressway outpunt the entire Washington offense?
No.
I'm gonna say yes.
No and yes. Okay. Who said no?
I said no.
Okay, Dave's right. It was
Okay.
Tress had 5 punts for 221 yards. It was close.
Well, he also had like 2 punts that were kind of unlike. At least one. I know he shanked one a bit. He probably only got like a total of, I think, like 20 yards out of the punt or something like that.
It is what it is. He did not punt the offense.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So there you go. That's stats.
There we go. That is the depressing stats from what was really just an awful, ugly game. I think it's fair to say this was probably Daniel's worst performance that we've seen. Even
absolutely.
beyond the stats, just eyeball test.
Right.
I thought he looked out of sorts.
Yep.
He had a bunch of misreads. He weirdly was off target with a bunch of passes. Some of them sailed through, like at least one of them in the dirt.
It looks like he was really struggling to see downfield at times.
Yeah, I mean, this is where like the Thom Lovato thing comes in because, was it because his ribs bothering him? Did he just have a bad day? I mean, what is it? And that's kind of what it sounds like, the point the guy was trying to make, maybe a little bit. But I think he just played, maybe the ribs were bad, but he just played badly against one of the better defenses in the NFL. And there's now, 10 weeks of film on the guy? Maybe, maybe it's not so easy to go out there and bamboozle people anymore when they have 10 weeks of film on you.
Also could definitely be a factor. You're right about that.
Well, also too, when you think of it, you're at a point to where, throughout his career, this is right around the time where the season's over for him.
Yep.
In college ball and everything. So there's a certain level of stamina. Because even last year, CJ Stroud, he had a bit of a dip in his numbers too when he started off real hot, and then next thing you know, he had a string of a few games where he looked like a little more human than what he was the first half of the year. But then he picked it right back up again. I think Jaden Daniels. I think Alex, you made a good point in your tweet last week. That I think there's a certain mental aspect after the injury
sure.
as well that he's going to have to come back from. So I think the cold's still affecting his ribs a little bit, whether the team wants to admit it or not. Because I mean, we've all had a similar injury to that with that cartilage between the ribs, and us being out of shape take like 3 years to recover from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to take some time for him to actually get fully comfortable from that injury. I think what Alex, to your point, you mentioned, and also it's a long season in terms of what he's been playing. Plus, I think there is a level of regression a little bit too in his play, because you see that with some, like you said, Steve, he had some misreads too as well, and he threw some bad balls, like that one in the dirt to Noah Brown. He was actually open for a nice big game for a first down to get in the Eagles territory. I mean, there were opportunities this offense had to move the ball and actually stay in this game to have a chance to win the game. But Jaden Daniels just missed on those throws. And that's the point to where, yes, Tom Navarro, if you're talking about the fact that, yeah, we're hoping that maybe it was just the injury, not him regression, I get that. And that part you can debate, and that's fine. And that's very possible, but I think, because right now on my article I mentioned that he has one of the highest accurate throw percentages in the league of over 81%. And he has like a 13.9% bad throw rate. And that's all off a stat head, off a Pro Football Reference. So it's not like he's making terrible throws every game, and he's still keeping the ball out of harm's way, not turning it over. His interception percentage is still down. His sack percentage has gone down. He's a little more aware in the pocket with the rush and everything. It's just these other aspects I just think that are fixable, and they can come back around and it'll be okay. But yeah, I think there's questions to be had in terms of what's happening with him and the offense on the Kingsbury itself.
Yeah, first of all, don't lump me into like the we're out of shape thing. I'm a beast when it comes to athleticism, as you well know. So I could tough out a rib injury, no problem.
Sure.
Dave's laughing at me. Okay, it didn't land. So
I can handle a whole plate of ribs, a whole rack.
There you go. Yeah.
You know what? I'm with you on that with a nice beer next to it. Absolutely.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
And
we'll get you water, Steve. Don't worry.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I need the water. But look, I mean, the numbers are great, and all things are relative. His numbers aren't terrible. Did he play well? No. Did the eye test tell you he played badly? Yes. His season his season combined stats are still good.
Right.
And we all knew he was going to have some bad games. That's called being human. Right. And also, by the way, Washington's schedule was a lot easier in the early part of the season.
Mm-hmm.
He's now facing the Steelers and the Eagles
back to back,
and he didn't play well against the Ravens either, shockingly enough.
Right.
And those are top teams. The Eagles certainly are Super Bowl contender. You'd probably say the Steelers are too this year by virtue of the fact they're in first place. And so, it's not. I don't think it's totally fair to just totally give up on the guy.
Right.
Which I don't know. I mean, some people are, some people probably aren't. But he played badly. It was a tough team. Move on. There's next week.
I don't think many
don't
people
judge
are,
somebody
quote,
in 1 week.
giving up on him. I think that
Tom Navarro might be.
Well, I don't think he was ever, had faith in him. So you can't give up on somebody who you weren't rooting for. You know what I mean? But I do think that look, it's perfectly fair when you suddenly have a franchise quarterback and he doesn't play well for 2 games, it's very fair for fans to overanalyze. Like that's part of what we do as fans, and that's
Right.
part of what we do on this podcast. Is we're here to overanalyze
No.
Yeah.
development.
And see, and to that point too, is like before the season started, there wasn't many people that had this team predicted to win much more than 6 or 7 games.
Including us, all of us here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So when you start off 7-2 and he's having a hot start that he has, then clearly this team is in position because of how he played. I mean, that's very clear. And yes, the competition was pretty soft for the most part. I mean, I point out some areas that I think the offense did well to take advantage of some weaknesses on a couple of good defenses, sure. But overall, you're right. The schedule wasn't exactly daunting in any way. But let's also be fair. This team is not 7-2 without Jaden Daniels itself. Jaden Daniels is one of the reasons where they are. But also keep in mind, this roster isn't filled with great talent like your Eagles and the Steelers and all them. We still have time to grow and develop and build. We have no true number 2 receiver. We still need a corner. Hopefully, Marshawn Lattimore will be that guy. There's still pieces we need. It's going to take time. You got to have patience. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and although all that said, this team does need to start turning it around. They've been on a bit of a losing streak.
Yep.
I would point out that the Jim Zorn era of Washington football started out 6-2,
and then ended 8-8. Yes.
Yeah, and finished 2-6.
Right.
And so I think that team clearly is vastly different than this team. But the fact is, they've got 2 winning games coming up, winnable games. The Dallas Cowboys stink this year, which would make people happy. They've got who's right after that?
Tennessee's after that.
Tennessee's right after that. They stink too, and so they have winnable games. So I think what we'd want to see is Washington get back to something resembling what we saw in the early part of the year, this week and next week in particular. If they don't, maybe the moment is too big for them this year. That doesn't mean that Jaden Daniels is a bust. It doesn't mean that. It means that there's problems with the team and maybe he needs to improve too, but it's early. You don't give up on somebody based on a couple bad games.
Right.
No,
I agree.
No. Of course not.
Well, we say that, but other people are very impatient. I know you guys agree, but I'm not really talking to you. I'm talking to these people who aren't patient,
You got to give a kid a couple years. No, even, guess what? Patrick Mahomes didn't do anything by this point in his career.
He literally didn't do anything. He didn't even play for a couple years. Yeah.
Yeah. He was Forrest Gumping it, eating chocolates on the bench.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
Another one.
For 3 years.
No. Yeah. Brady. Steve Young. Remember Steve Young?
Yeah. Steve Young.
And there's others.
All these guys took time, And,
well, and you don't giving up on a quarterback in 5 minutes is what the old version of Washington football did. That's what they did to Dwayne Haskins, for example.
Right.
They
gave RG3 a little bit more than 5 minutes, but not much.
And RG3 brought some of it on himself by being a jerk and all of that, certainly. But the whole thing could have been handled better. I mean, I've always said the trick to developing quarterbacks is a lot of it, some of it's on the quarterback, but the team has to handle the situation properly. And thus far, Washington has handled it brilliantly with this kid.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't criticize anything they're doing for the most part as a team with him. I mean, there's little things in game, like going for a 4th down when a field goal could have given you a lead, late in the game.
I didn't totally understand that move, but
right.
The only thing that would make sense is we didn't trust our defense to hold. But all right, take the points anyway. If your defense lets up a touchdown, at least you can just match touchdown for touchdown to stay ahead.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, I also don't want to just blame Jaden Daniels for this.
No.
By the way, he got not a lot of help from the running game, including
not at all.
Brian Robinson, who went back to the old Brian Robinson that I was criticizing last year, 3.9 yards per carry. And if you take away his long of 18, then that is 15 for 45, which is less than 3 yards a carry.
Yeah.
So he really did nothing. And I do wonder why Daniels had not a lot of success on the ground. 7 for 18 is like normal quarterback standards.
I mean, that's pocket quarterback level these days.
Yeah, it is.
frankly.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I will say to the Eagles side of that right there, they did a very good job on keeping contain on the outside. They did very good with gap discipline, and Baun, their linebackers Baun and N'Kobe Dean. I mean, they just had a fantastic night that night. There was just nothing they could do at that second level of that defense, and that front seven just completely ate up our offensive line. So, I mean,
I think that plays into it. I think, one of the reasons why I think that there might be something psychological with him still recovering from the injury is I think he is really trying to avoid contact if he runs at all. Like he runs and he gets out of bounds as soon as he can, or he gets down as soon as he can to avoid getting hit.
Right.
So I think it could be his ribs still hurt a little, so he's trying to avoid re-injuring it, or it could be mental, and or a combination of both. And that just takes time to get over it, man.
Yeah.
Like nothing he can do about it other than be aware that that's what's going on in his own head, and then hopefully he can do something about it. The sports psychology thing. A lot of people dislike it. I know when it comes to sports, but I think it plays into injury recovery in a big way.
Yeah, well, I just think generally speaking, anybody who's ever been in a competitive situation, which is most people, I'm not necessarily talking about athletics, but there's always pressure situations. And a lot of times when things start to go wrong, they kind of start snowballing people. It takes, they can, not everybody, not all the time, but sometimes things snowball and you just kind of can't break out of a rut. It can happen to musicians, speakers, teachers, work, all kinds of things. I've said on the show many times I play guitar. I mean, I'm no Steve Vai, but I play and I'm pretty decent guitar. There are days when I just like, I can't do this today. No matter what, and it just doesn't work. And that's the case in many aspects of life. And I think Jaden may be going through a combination of things. It may be that things have snowballed. He's played two really tough teams in a row. The Steelers are freaking tough, man. He's getting no help from a running game because, the Robinson was out and he didn't play well. He might as well not have been there this past week. So there's a lot of things. And, to your point, I think, Alex, you said it, it was week 10. Or week 11 rather. College football's over by that time, and so that's another. And so it's just a lot of things that are going on. And I think the one thing Washington needs to do to help with this is get that running game going again. I don't know how they do it. I don't know. Maybe Robinson still hurt himself, but that is the best thing to do for these young quarterbacks.
Well, luckily they've had a mini bye, so hopefully people have rested up if they're banged up a little bit here. We should talk about the defensive side too. I think as Jaden goes, the offense goes. So with the defense, they looked like they were starting to put things together pretty well. Even in this game, up until the very end, it was a close game. There was that late score by the Eagles to make it look much, worse on the scoreboard. But like this was a pretty close game overall. But man, Saquon Barkley just dominated them, and they're not. I don't care what they say. Adding a corner is not going to fix this running game. That's a 2025 thing for them. It's not happening until next summer.
Well, I'd like to point out. I'm glad you brought up Saquon because I did take some stats.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the first quarter, Saquon Barkley was 7 for 27, which for those counting, that's 3.9 yards per carry. And halftime, why can't I find my halftime? It's 6 for 38 at halftime, which is 6.3 yards per carry, but that includes the 38, the 18. Oh, I'm sorry, that was Brian Robinson. Apologies.
Oh, okay.
It's like, wait a minute. I can't find I don't know, somehow I think I deleted it by accident.
But
the point is it wasn't much better in the first half. And most of those yards came in late in the game, into the third quarter, into the fourth quarter. And the reason is, I think, relative to Washington's defense, the defense got worn down. This is what you do when you have a runner like this. You keep pounding at it over and over and over again. And eventually if the runner's good enough and the offensive line is good enough, it's going to wear down this defense, and that is exactly what happened
Yeah.
to Washington in this game.
And
so
when you lack depth, like Washington still lacks depth in a lot of spots on defense, you will get worn down. You can counter that kind of approach if you have three or four really good defensive tackles. You have good backups at defensive end, more than 2 good linebackers.
Yeah.
Right.
And I found the number, by the way. He was 15 for 56 at halftime.
Okay.
Yeah,
which is 3.7 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as Washington's second drive ended to a 3-and-out, the one thing I immediately said to the group text I have my brothers and friends of ours here is, that's the game. The game's over. Mm-hmm. And then a couple of plays later, that Barkley runs off that 39-yard touchdown run, because at that point, Barkley was getting stronger. The defensive front was getting tired and worn down, and then Barkley took over the game the rest of the way. That second possession was so imperative to, at minimum, flip the field, and they couldn't even do that. It went 3-and-out. And as soon as that happened, the defense's back would put up against all. Because up until halfway through the third quarter, the defense played a very good game against an offense that has been hitting on all cylinders the last several weeks. Mm-hmm. You have to give the defense some credit on what they did, especially to Jalen Hurts during that game. But when you keep putting them on the field, back on the field, and to your point, Steve, they were just worn down. They were getting tired, and Barkley gets stronger later in the game, and that was it. Game was over.
I didn't mean to go backwards, but I wanted to mention this too. On one of my sole excursions onto Twitter, I came across a pass chart for Jayden Daniels, and what stuck out at him, and this is the completed versus incompleted passes, and what stuck out at me is he had only 3 passes completed over 10 yards, and none over 15. And he only had 4 other passes over 10 yards, one of them being the interception.
Mm-hmm.
All of these passes
passing game was shut down.
Almost all of these passes were within 5 yards or behind the line of scrimmage, flat passes.
Yeah.
And to add to that, I think the Eagles have a corner. Quinyon Mitchell was an absolute beast against McLaurin. He has been all year. And McLaurin has been one of the primary guys that help open up the field and stretch the field down, stretch the ball downfield. But unfortunately, he had zero opportunity to do that, which is, we have no real true number 2 receiver, and we relied so much on Ertz, and he's more of a, 10-yard, maybe 15-yard range type receiver for us. So it was like, even if we tried to push the ball downfield, there was absolutely nothing there to do anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
But sorry, I didn't mean to distract us. But
no,
I wanted to mention that.
Yeah. One thing, I remember now thinking back on the game, I do remember saying on Twitter early in the second half, they should just do like everyone go deep, take a shot. Not even if you don't make it, like you gotta like make the Eagles back up a little bit. Take that shot just to threaten it. And they never really even gave them that opportunity to take a deep shot the whole game. Back to the defense. They did a better job than I thought against those receivers. I'll give them credit for that. With no Lattimore. Philly had an okay day passing, but nothing special.
Right.
No, they didn't play very well in the first half either.
They played terrible in the first half, frankly.
Yeah, and also, they missed 2 field goals, missed an extra point. That is 7 points there that they kind of shot themselves in the foot over too. But I mean, Washington. But that's what I was saying before. Washington's defense hung with them for a while, but it just got worn down. Just got too much. When you have a totally unproductive offense, that's what happens. And because this game, the Washington's touchdown came late in the game. It was actually, going to be what, 12 to 26. Didn't they go for 2? I can't remember.
Yeah,
but anyway, so it was. It was going to be it was going to look worse than it was. The offense was really more the problem. I would be happy with a team that gives up 206 yards passing. They gave up a ton of rushing yards to Saquon Barkley, but if they had tightened it up in the fourth quarter, it would have looked a lot different. But they got beat by a better team all around
Yep.
who played better. Simple as that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep.
And look, Philly's been to a Super Bowl with this roster. They're that is a good roster. You can't deny it. Their coach still annoying, but what are you gonna do? All right, let's do game balls, and then
Okay.
we can move on to this Cowboys game coming up.
All right. I'll go first since I think I haven't gone first in a while.
Okay.
This is not an easy one at all.
No, it's really
To be
not.
perfectly honest, you're all gonna hate me, but Saquon Barkley has to get an offensive game ball. I'm sorry. He does.
He had a great game. I'll
Yeah,
give you
he was
that.
the key. Yeah, he was. And on defense, Frankie Louvu, man. I mean, the guy had an outstanding game. 2 sacks, tackles for loss. He was all over the place. Seemed like he was involved, and he got a lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts in the right time. He was in the middle of a bunch of plays. So I think on defense, Frankie Louvu. But Saquon Barkley has to get a game ball. Sorry. And since let's do this. Let's make Deron Payne go to Barkley and pass it to him on bended knee.
Was he even on the field?
Look, Payne is isn't he the leader on the defense now, Mr.
guess
Big Money?
so.
He's got to be the one to present it to him. So
I honestly think that Louvu's the leader of this defense now. But
Deron Payne is the big money guy. He's got to go down there and bended knee and do it.
All right.
Right.
All right, Dave, you ready with yours, or you want me to go?
Sure. I'll
Okay.
go. I'll go with Zach Ertz. I think Zach Ertz had a good game. He had a great reception for that 2-point conversion at the back of the end zone.
Good touchdown too.
Yeah, I'll give it to Ertz. He played very well, very reliable. Didn't have any bad drops or anything like that. So I mean, I'll give it to Ertz. Now for defense, I have to give it to Sanders still in this game. I mean, last couple of weeks, he has been really coming on each and every week as a corner, and he's been playing outside too, which is out of his position. And he played very, very well against A.J. Brown. He had a good pass defense against him in the end zone. He's been very, very good the last couple of weeks, and he was good that night.
All right. So offense, because you gave it to Ertz, I'm just gonna let's even it out here. I'm gonna give this one to Austin Eckler, who was most of the offense with his 8 catches for 89 yards.
Yeah.
Because we didn't do a whole lot else throughout the day. And then on defense, you know what? Let me give it to the machine, Jeremy Chin. Just another week with.
Did you just make up a nickname for him?
I mean, he's a tackling machine. Yeah.
the machine. I thought, Alex? Did Alex pop that out of his head, or did he hear that?
I kind of did. Yeah.
The
machine Chin.
It's not a bad nickname.
I mean, it's a great nickname for any defensive player. It really is. As long as you tackle a lot, you can be called the machine.
He has a lot of tackles.
This is 3 weeks in a row with double-digit tackles.
Yep.
So, he's the machine right now. So that's what I'm calling him. All right, let's talk Cowboys. Hey guys, good news. We actually have a better shot this week. Is what I'm going to just start this off with. The Cowboys are a mess. They are the Walking Dead. They look like Jerry as a zombie, because Jerry also looks like a zombie. You get what I'm doing. But yeah, there is no better get right opportunity that I could think of in the league right now than playing the Cowboys. Maybe the Giants, if you can play the Giants a third time.
To give everybody the fundamental flaw in the Dallas Cowboys offense.
Okay.
The Dallas Cowboys are one of the worst rushing teams in the NFL.
Right.
They're absolutely atrocious running the ball. And
so signing an overweight, slow, has-been running back wasn't a good plan.
No. But simultaneously, they have they are the number one passing team in the NFL, is measured by passing attempts. Okay. Now, the problem with that is that Cooper Rush is now the quarterback, not Dak Prescott, who has had his moments of all-pro-ness. Cooper Rush is a career backup at best. And so this team does not have the ability to run all over Washington, as did the Eagles, as have other teams. because that is one of Washington's great weaknesses. Dallas has relied on the pass all year. They have CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is their only weapon really passing. He has 90, is it 93?
Sounds right.
Hold on, give me 1 second here. CeeDee Lamb has 106 targets. Way more than almost twice as much as everybody else, really. Jake Ferguson's next, 58 targets. So this is a team that has to rely on the pass, that can't run to sustain its offense, that has a mediocre quarterback and one real target. That is why their offense stinks. And I think this plays into Washington's hands, unlike the weaknesses on the Philadelphia Eagles.
Right.
So that's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're a beat up team, which I think automatically makes everyone think this is a good chance. Their morale seems to be a mess. That we know, what was it, 2 weeks ago, that Micah Parsons seemed to be fighting with Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Like Dallas is what Washington typically is, which is the dumpster fire of the league
Right.
at this moment.
They deserve it.
They've needed to be that for a while.
They've needed to be humbled.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's kind of what's going on right now. It's a little humbling. I'm not mad about it at all. So, if we can make Mike McCarthy cry before the end of the game, I'd be very happy to see something like that.
You want him to cry, like shed tears?
Yes, like
Okay.
we beat them so bad that he is weeping a little bit. They need to put a towel over his head.
I don't think
Like
you ought to place a bet on that, but okay.
I'm not going to, but I'd love to see it. Love to see it.
Hey, if you start doing it, I'll pull out the phone and start video recording. It's a bit of a distance away from my seats, but hey, I'll take care of that.
Yeah.
So
You could zoom in as much as you can.
yes, I can. But yeah, this Dallas team. I mean, you hit all the points already, Steve. It's just, even Vegas. It's not. This game isn't even your typical NFC East game to where it's like anything could happen. Which
Right.
yeah, anything could happen. Any given Sunday, right? But even Vegas is given a 10-point line in favor of Washington. They're not even thinking this game is even going to be close.
And this is the last
So-
time Washington was favored by 10 over anybody.
Very long time ago.
1991.
Probably, yeah.
But now there's nothing that's aligned with the stars for the 1-star rating Cowboys right now,
Mhm.
So it's like, they have Micah Parsons is kind of on a mission right now to prove that this team is better than what people are saying. And defensively, they still have the playmakers and make something happen on that side of the ball. I get all that. That's fine. But the problem is if their offense can't keep the ball moving and we can get our run game against that Dallas defense, which they haven't stopped the run very well all year, we're going to wear that defense down. So early on, it might be relatively close, kind of. But I think we just, with the run game and pound it down, I think we just do to them what Philly did to us, and that run game can take over the game.
And there's a pretty interesting part of Dallas's defense. I think it's worth a discussion. I know we're running out of time. Number one, their run defense stinks. Okay, they're not quite as bad as Washington, but they're down there in dumpster with this. 4.7 yards per carry. Their quarterback rating against is almost exactly what Washington's is, meaning terrible, 101.7 versus 101.2. But what I found more interesting, and so that shows they haven't been very successful on defense.
Right.
What's really more weird is their pressure percentage is the second highest in the NFL. Pressure percentage is our stat service does this. And what it is, it's hurries plus knockdowns plus sack plays per drop back. Okay.
Right.
But simultaneously, so their pressure percentage is the second highest in the NFL. That having been said, they are lower third in sacks, 24 sacks. Not a ton of sacks. What are they getting? They're getting a significant amount of hurries. They're first in the NFL in hurries, meaning they're getting pressure, but they're not getting home.
Well,
right.
The reason for that is kind of, I think, when you look at the roster, it's self-evident. Parsons is their only guy you have to worry about on this front four, at least. Like I think Diggs is still a good corner. I think they have a good safety in Hooker at least. They don't have a lot of talent on defense overall, and if you basically just take an approach of Micah Parsons is lined up on the left, let's plan to run to the right so that we're not running right at him.
Right.
Like
They've spread the sacks out quite a
yeah.
bit. Like DeMarvion Overshown is the number. It has 4 sacks. He leads the team. Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence have 3. The defensive tackle's name I can't pronounce.
Mhm.
Odigzugwa has got 2. Chauncey Golston, defensive end, has got 2. And so there's a bunch of sacks by different people. They don't really have like DeMarcus Lawrence's days of being a star in the
Right.
past. He's old.
Long gone. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And so they don't have one particular person to focus on, to your point, Alex. And so they're getting a bunch of pressure, but they're not
Right.
getting home very much. And so
Right.
that maybe will help Washington's offensive line a little bit. They're not facing some of the elite talent like Philly had and, some others. So
Right. Like the Steelers, there's no good spot to run.
there you go. Like TJ Watt. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's run at TJ Watt or run at who was it? Preston Smith that we were facing most
Yeah.
of the game. Yeah.
Eh,
Like those are
right.
not good options. Yeah. So I don't I think you're right, Dave. The defense is better than the offense, but this is just a stick it out. By the third quarter, you should be winning this one pretty handedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing good about the 2024 Dallas Cowboys. They don't do really anything well,
Well,
and they're
there's
hurt.
never been anything good about the Cowboys, period. They're
Objectively, they've been a good team at times.
Okay.
That's what
Okay,
I'm saying.
fine.
You don't have to like them, but
Right.
honestly, you have to admit they have been good at times.
Sure.
Talented. Good is a moral decision, and there's nothing moral about
They've
that.
listen. I mean, you can't argue with the results. They've gotten to playoffs. They've won divisions.
They
You know,
have. They have.
they've done. They've been successful on the field. Will that make you feel better? If I
Yes,
said
we can
they've
say
had
it that way.
Okay, Mr. Sensitive up here.
Yes. Yeah, but the only thing that's going to be interesting to see, because I know they've gone to Trey Lance a few times now, right? Since
Oh, you
Prescott.
want that? Well,
Yeah,
Trey
yeah.
Lance. First of all, Trey Lance sucks. Just for
Yes.
the record.
That's what I'm.
I think you're giving him way too much credit by saying he sucks.
True.
Dude,
He's not
has
up to the
been
level of
absolutely
suck.
horrendous. No,
Right.
absolutely not.
Trey Lance has made one appearance, and it was 4 for 6 for 21 yards.
That's actually pretty good. 4 for 6 for him.
No, it isn't, but okay.
See, well,
By
Yeah,
his
Trey
standards, you
Lance-
mean?
Trey Lance is going to be a backup in the XFL in a year, is my theory. So
Probably so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a coach at, Smithville Junior High School or something.
right. Yeah, his future does not look bright. I actually do like.
I mean, the minute that Cooper Rush was named the starter when Dak Prescott went down, told you everything you need to know anyway.
Oh, yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean,
By
absolutely.
the way, I was always kind of a Cooper Rush fan in terms of like a backup in his game. Like I
Yeah.
thought when he was coming out, I remember us looking at him and I liked him a lot.
He's not been terrible. I mean, so if you want some numbers on Cooper Rush, and I think we're well over time at this
Yeah,
point.
we'll wrap up.
We need to wrap it up, but he is and he has played 6 games, started 2.
Mhm.
He is 67 for 117. Sorry, he is 117 for 67. Did I say that backwards? He has 117 attempts, 67 completions, 57.3% completion percentage, 566 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, quarterback rating of 68.5. So backup. He's a
Quality
professional
backup
backup.
numbers, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least mediocre, at least not terrible backup
Right.
number. Not good, but
Right.
not horrible. Considering it's a terrible team, he's been okay.
Right. Right. All right. Well, we should wrap it up. Let's do our scores and get out of here, guys. I'm gonna just put a score out there for fun. Let's say 35-14. That's what I'm gonna say.
I
don't
was
think this
thinking
is
almost
close.
nearly the same thing. Actually, I was going to say 34. I'll go with the 34-13.
Okay.
Oh, wow. I was going to go 34-17, but let me change it up. I'll just say 38-13.
There you
All
go.
Go with
right.
that. There you go.
Washington really should
Handle
win this game.
Yes.
They
Right.
really should.
If somehow we're all way off, then we're hitting a panic button. So
Yeah, then yes, at that point, then yeah, the panic flags will be out.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, guys. We will hopefully see you all after a nice big bloodbath. Dave, enjoy the game.
Oh, I will.
All right, guys. Later,
All
later.
right. Later.